Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. Please join us over at rivianstories.com for all the latest Rivian news. Maybe pick up yourself a t-shirt while you're there. Thanks. I want to switch gears. We're still talking about the road though, but let's switch gears to tires on the road. One of the most common questions we get is what kind of tires to buy if you're not going to get the stock replacements from Pirelli, and where to go. There's just been a lot of tire discussion from the very beginning, like which tires size to choose. I mean, and I think that it'll just keep going on and on. But Jimmy, you can kind of take it away, or maybe I'll have to just kind of read through some of these if you can't see it. But the idea of this post was how long the tires are going to last and some tips to get maximum mileage out of your tires. If you guys are just listening on the podcast, this would be one worth finding on YouTube or going to the post just to see how Jimmy lined this out. One, rotate your tires on a semi-frequent basis. So right now, 9,000 miles is kind of the recommendation from Rivian, right? That's the current recommendation, every 9,000 miles, correct?
I think it's 7,500.
Is it?
And I'm pretty sure I'm almost positive it's 9, but I mean, yeah. I think honestly too, I think it depends on who you talk to at what service center. I think I have heard both as well, but going back to way original when we talked about tire wear and tires, when I did the first post, however many moons ago, Ryan Reel had gotten from Denver that it was like 9,000 or 9,500 miles, something along those lines.
I'll just say that in my experience, when I was a tire technician at Discount Tire back in the early 90s, it was every 5,000 miles was rule of thumb.
Yep.
Very true.
Yeah, I know that when I ask service people when I was scheduling my first rotation, because I just did it at the plant because I was doing a few other things, right? I was kind of rolling a few things into one, and they'd kind of said a range from 6 to 9 was the kind of current going thing as they were, and I think they were kind of getting data in, and I think that 6 became a little bit more like later, like we're talking sometime between 7,500 and 9,000 miles. So your first rotation was around 9,000, you say here, Jimmy. Your second was after 17,600 miles. You're 7,406 miles since the last rotation. So you're planning the next one, 5-tire rotation in 2 to 3 weeks, which we'll get back to this 5-tire rotation thing in a little bit. But that's later on in your list, Jimmy. So that was number 1. Number 2, which is now the numeral 2, instead of like O-N-E, ride around in all-purpose standard as much as possible. So let's talk about this.
I am not a suspension engineer, mechanical engineer, suspension aficionado, but I know enough that I'm almost 100% positive that if the vehicle was aligned in standard ride height, we'll call it all purpose for the sake of just clarity, but like just a standard ride height. As soon as you change the height either up or down, you change the geometry of how the tires sit on the ground. Whether that's, if you have it in high or highest, you are now towed in, or your camber is in, not towed, but your camber is in. And if you're sitting in low or lowest, your tires are going to be sitting like this. Obviously not that extreme, but just for the visuals, for those that are watching. So yes, by riding around in Conserve, you're going to be very efficient, but you're also going to be sitting with your tires in a cambered configuration that will end up wearing the inside of your tire out faster than the outside, or even middle at that point.
Yeah, so that negative camber is definitely the most severe when you're riding in the lowest suspension. So you're going to be wearing out the inside of the wheels more. And, you know, we noticed this camber like way back in the day. I'm trying to think. There's the picture of the white R1S in the garage.
Yep.
And you can just see it. I need to find that picture. I can't find this picture when you want it. But so that's that for number 2, right around in AP standard as much as possible. Skylar, do you want to add anything to there, or do you want me to take it on to point number Roman numeral 3?
I mean, I don't really have anything valuable to add, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, tire pressure is extremely important because, and it's based on both the tire and the weight of the vehicle. And basically, if the tire is overinflated, it will wear in the middle of the tire more than the edges. And if it's underinflated, it will wear more on the edges than in the middle. So to get good, even wear across the entire face of the tire, you do need to have proper inflation. But also, as Jimmy said, the different ride heights, things are optimized for the standard ride height as it relates to the tires sitting perfectly flat against the ground. So changing ride heights will change the wear patterns on your tires if you drive in lower or higher ride heights a decent amount.
Jimmy says it this way, PSI, ensure you're maintaining 48 PSI cold, meaning you haven't driven. You just walk out to your garage when the car's cold. 48 PSI. That's for the 20s, but I'm pretty sure that follows for the 21s and 22s. That's what my target is for the 22s. Am I wrong there?
I don't know, but I will say that the little label on the inside of your door frame will tell you the proper inflation for the vehicle, and this is any vehicle, but for the vehicle and the OE tires that came on it.
So if you're, I mean, going back to Jimmy's suggestion here, if you're at 48 cold, you're going to get a couple more, maybe up to 3 more PSI once you start rolling around and get those tires warmed up. Correct, Jimmy?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, once my tires are warmed up, I'm seeing anywhere from 50 to 51 PSI hot.
But that is another thing to bring up is all rated tire pressures are when the tire is cold. So you need to check it before you drive, not after driving, because the tire pressures always go up after driving.
Right. And that's why that's why I made a point to put cold at the end of that. I mean, maybe I can put it in all caps, but yeah, 48 PSI cold is a must.
What you put in all caps is 4. F-O-U-R.
Correct.
4, shouting. Get your attention. Eat your vitamins. That's when I laughed out loud in the middle of the night.
So fun fact, Kyle, I was trying to be your research producer while we were just talking, and there is nothing that I found in the version of the owner's manual that I have on my computer, which might be a little bit outdated. There is nothing about tire rotation interval. And I just read through the entire tire section, and right after that is routine maintenance, where it talks about wiper blades and windshield washer fluid. Literally, that is the entirety of the routine maintenance section.
I dig it.
Yep. All right, let's keep going to Roman numeral 5 this time. Try a 5-tire rotation if you have a spare. I think that's made a big difference. So, Jimmy, do you want to talk a little bit about this? And Skylar, what did you end up doing? Did you get the compact spare as far as tuning into this one? I know that's what I have sitting in mine. But Jimmy, talk about 5 tires for now. And then, Skylar, you can follow up with either plan B if you don't have a full-size spare, or there's other things that I've read about in this as well as far as recommendations. But Jimmy, you first.
So we knew right out the gate that we wanted the spare. What little bit of off-roading that we do we knew that having a spare would come in handy. And then with that in mind, I also didn't want to just have that spare sitting, underneath the door in the bed. I wanted to be able to use it and, be able to extend the life of the other 4 tires that we have on the truck. So out the gate, I've been doing a 5-tire rotation, and our discount tire, at least the one that I've been going to pretty much for the last 15, 16 years since we've lived here almost, their 5-tire rotation, I go in a clockwise pattern. So far, it's worked out.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot to add, but obviously when you're rotating an extra tire in there, it leads to more overall tire life for the entire set. And I will say, and I'm not sure whether Rivian will issue guidance on this once they do come out with the dual motor variant, but certain vehicles, it does matter that the tire wear is very, very close for the same tires on an axle. So like front or rear, if that makes sense. But I don't know. We'll have to see whether that's okay for Rivian, especially in the dual motor where there will be some sort of differential hardware component.
Cool. Number 6, only use conserve mode in standard ride height. Anything lower than standard will create that negative camber and produce inside wear of your tires. So this goes back to number 2 in standard height. So if you go to conserve mode, by default, it's going to take it into low ride height, which is the reason that Jimmy mentioned this again. You can manually override that, is what we're talking about here. So guilty as charged here, driving in Illinois where it seems to always be windy now. I don't ever remember it like this as a kid, but it is always windy here. So I do drive and conserve quite a bit and in low because of the efficiency. So when I get my next tire rotation, I'll have to get some data that we can report on. But that's number 6, which brings us to 7. When in doubt, ask yourself, what would Scout do? What would Scout do? Scout, what are you doing?
Hey, I was curious about that one too, and I've been meaning to ask Jimmy. So Jimmy, what does that mean? Like, try to burn up the tires, just burn them down, turn them into white smoke? I mean, what are you thinking there?
I'm thinking that you're going to use the truck how you want to use it, just like I want to use it. I just thought it'd be more fun to involve somebody, one of the 3 of us. We're gonna use, at least for our case, we're gonna use the truck like we would use any other vehicle. I mean, I'm not burning it down every day, but we drive the truck like we want to drive a truck with 835 horsepower and 900 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I would say don't sweat the small stuff, but definitely stay on top of your regular maintenance, and tire rotation is absolutely one of those things. The other thing that I'll bring up here, and I need to go back and rewatch this because I don't remember the details, but Brandon Flash did testing in conserve mode between standard and low. And what I remember about that is the efficiency difference was small enough that I decided to always use conserve and standard ride height.
True. I mean, to this point, the only thing that Coyote would do is he would just live and let live, and life's an adventure. Don't worry about your tires, y'all. Drive enthusiastically is what Coyote would do.
That's an old one. Drive enthusiastically, yes.
Yep.
Yep. Which brings us to like at the end of the day, if you don't want tire wear, drive your R1 like Rivian Stories member Victor, who has less than 327 miles after 11 months of ownership. Wow. And this was March 8th that you wrote this, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
how does Victor do this?
shout out to Victor, but Victor, drive your darn truck, man.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But that is a really good way to lessen the tire wear. Make them last years.
Yeah,
He's
until
gonna
they
get dry rot before he. Yeah. But so the last thing, and number 9, thanks for making this far. When you guys replace your tires, Jimmy, I think you're a discount tire guy. You've got your eye on a set. What are they going to be? Let's end it that way.
I will 95% sure I'm going to go with BFG KO2s.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to throw up a link in the show notes. Or you can come over to Rivian Stories. Did you already drop that link in here in all the comments?
They might be somewhere buried in those comments. Yeah, this was a pretty highly commented on article.
By the way, guys, if you are listening, come on over here because the comments are hilarious. There's a lot of gold in the comments. And honestly, a lot of great information. We could probably talk for another 20 or 30 minutes just going through these comments. I probably should have gone through the other stuff a little quicker. But there is a lot of testimony in here.
Well, and top takeaway is Jimmy can't figure out whether he's angry, writing in all caps, whether he's Roman, whether he's normal. I mean, I feel like we got to see a little bit of all Jimmy's personalities.
Yeah.
And I'll add this too. I've been doing this because I do have a little bit of uneven wear in my tires, and all 4 of them. All 5, excuse me, but four that are riding on the truck right now. And I have gotten to the habit of, because of the uneven wear and that I do have, again, very minor, I ride in high when I'm driving around town. Just to anything under 45 or 50 miles an hour, I'll ride around in high because why not?
Wow, I think, I kind of want to start parking in high every once in a while.
Fun fact, I heard that RJ prefers the vehicles to be in high for any photo ops or anything like that. And that actually came from Kyle Connor, who was in Austin for South by Southwest and actually came over for dinner, and we even did a little R1S ownership update video that should be dropping sometime here in the near future.
Awesome.
So Jimmy has uneven wear, and would that mean that Victor has underwear?
You're an idiot.
Always.
If we're going to do a 2-minute bonus to add this one, to ask for your like and subscribe to come back more. One story we're tracking and trying to figure out more. We hear this rumor that we might get bigger air compressors. Now, this is a screenshot, from a social, so this is speculation here, folks. We haven't gotten any confirmation from Rivian. Skylar had the great point that maybe someone from Rivian could come on and tell us more about this. But I put this on here as would be something that would be awesome, because if it was in fact quieter, if the pump was quieter and more powerful and larger tank to where it would run less often, would be welcome, especially to us R1S owners.
Amen.
The T, when I drove the T, I just never really even registered. If I tried very hard, I could hear it kick on, but I had to try. Mm-hmm. But for the S, it's there, man. It's there. You can't miss it.
Yeah, it's not crazy loud, but it is noticeable. And I would say in the T, it is barely noticeable. So, yeah, I would see this potential, this rumored solution, absolutely being applicable to the R1S. And I don't think the T is enough of an issue unless they just need to standardize and simplify supply chain.
So the only other thing I'd say about this is that being in Illinois, I can tell you, I'm not just dreaming this, but when it's 10 degrees air temp out and the car is cold, not only does that compressor come on all the time, like every time you slow down, to stop, but I think just the nature of physics with cold material, it just vibrates the whole car. It's so much louder. The way it vibrates the whole car is different than when it's 60 or 70 degrees out. I mean, it's louder and you feel the vibration more when it's cold. So, there's that. All right, that's all for this one. We have more coming, so please subscribe. In the meantime, we hang out at rivianstories.com. Click on shop, find yourself a t-shirt. Thanks so much for your support.